Hey folks, today's Shrove Tuesday, Mardi Gras. Most importantly, today is Pancake Day. Now in this video, I'm not going to talk about why we eat pancakes on Shrove Tuesday. If somebody out there has a description or an understanding that you're willing to share with us, I'd sure appreciate it. My basic understanding is that this is the day we try to eat all the fat in the house before Lent starts, which is tomorrow. When I was a kid, my mom used to wrap up coins on Shrove Tuesday and put them in the batter. You know, she'd wrap them up in wax paper, nice and tight, and then drop them into the batter and then make pancakes for all of us for supper. And I think it was the promise of cash that has given me a lifelong love of pancakes. I love them. They're brilliant. They're wonderful. They're the best things you can ever possibly eat. It's warm and it's comforting and it's all those things. But today, what I really want to talk to you about is one of the greatest lessons I've ever received through a box of pancake batter. Years ago, when I was living in the United States, I attended an Episcopalian church called St. Andrew's. And the minister there was a fellow by the name of Father George. And Father George was very, very good at letting the congregation know on Sundays if there was a need in the community, if there was a need in the parish, so that we could pitch in, so that we could help out. And this one Sunday, he said, the food bank is getting real low. And people are starting to go hungry. They're starting to walk away without anything. And so I did what I do. Me and the kids, we jumped in the car. We went to the grocery store and we bought a ton of stuff. We got a bunch of stuff. Kraft dinner, and pancake mix, and Mr. Noodles, and hamburger helper, and all these different things that we love to eat around the house. And the next day we brought it to the food bank. Now, what I'm about to tell you, it's going to sound like he wasn't being appreciative. It's going to sound like he was being ungrateful, but he wasn't. Father George was very thankful for what we brought. And when we brought all that stuff in, he picked up a box of pancake mix and he said, you know, Ed, the people that come to this food bank, they don't live like you do. They don't have what you have. They don't come from the same places that you come from. They don't look like you. He said they don't have an egg to put in the batter or milk to put in the batter to mix it all up. So the pancake mix, it's probably going to sit here forever. The people that were going to that food bank weren't just hungry, they were homeless. The stuff that they needed were things that they could eat immediately. They didn't need a frying pan. They didn't need a stove. They didn't need electricity. They didn't need an egg. What I learned at that time was that the people that I'm called to help, I need to set myself aside a little bit and understand who they are and where they are and what they're going through, how they hear, how they see the world. I need to find a way of empathizing with them in that moment where they are. And that is, in and of itself, that's an incredibly good lesson. That is an incredibly good lesson. But the lesson I truly want to share with you today comes from not necessarily what George said, but that he said it. He chose in that moment to share with me something that could have hurt my feelings. He chose in that moment to share with me something that would challenge me. He chose in that moment to share with me something that may have crushed my heart, crushed my enthusiasm for that day. I don't know why. I keep thinking back on myself like in that time as, you know, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed with hair. But he chose to take that opportunity to be a teacher, to help make me a better person, to help me walk along this Christian path that I was on. He chose to take that opportunity, that day, in that place, to pastor me. He chose to be a shepherd. I didn't looking back, if I'm being honest about it, no, I didn't want a lesson. I didn't want to hear I didn't want to hear that I'd done wrong, which is how I generally would see that. I didn't want to hear that I could have done something differently. I didn't want to hear that I could have thought in a different way. It didn't matter. He's my shepherd. He's my minister. He's my pastor. It's his responsibility to take those opportunities, to be courageous and take those opportunities and teach messages that may not be popular in the moment. I didn't buy that food out of any sort of malice. I did it for all the right reasons. But there was a lesson to be taught. There was more to be gleaned out of that, and he was brave enough. He was courageous enough to share that with me. He trusted me enough in our relationship that he could share it with me, that it wasn't going to damage our times together. I think there's a lot to be said about a message like this. There's a lot to be said about an opportunity like this, and we're obviously not going to be able to get into it all in this conversation. But as a pastor, I do try to operate along those same lines. Gently, lovingly, pastorally, teaching when the moments arise, so that the people that have been entrusted to me are able to continue to grow. They are able to be challenged. They are able to experience a challenge in a safe way. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord's face be made to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord's countenance be lifted up to you, and may you always know the peace of being in the Lord's presence. And I pray that as you move through this life with all those you encounter, gently, lovingly, and pastorally, you will be brave enough to teach and share the lessons and the messages that have been shared with you. Amen. By the way, happy Pancake Day.